morning, my beloveds. Good morning. It's very interesting because I feel like everything that is in my talk for today is already been said. So, um, because we are in this incredible time of just, where our brains are just like popping open. But anyway, thank you all for being here. We love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. And whether you're near or far, you're always welcome here at Oneness. I got shout out for some of my family and friends that are out there that are tuning in right now. I love you all. Happy Father's Day to everybody. This week, we're continuing on this journey of exploring love is infinite and life depends on it. Life depends on this everlasting love that is always inside of us and around us. And we know that it's the divine responsibility to just love. Love us with this everlasting love that is always available to us each and every moment of the day. And we know that as we go through life expressing this love, there's always something more that gets revealed each and every moment. Last year, I had this opportunity I normally watch these reality shows like, AGT and stuff like that. And I was watching the show called America's Got Talent. And out into the audience walks this young man called Kodi Lee. And you guys might have seen this moment happen or might have even seen this video on YouTube. But we're going to show it today. And what happened in this moment for the presentation that was coming forth to the world was that Kodi Lee came out and he awakened the world, to this moment of knowing that whether consciously or unconsciously, that this love, this power of love just works through us, just manifesting these incredible things, these magnificent things that just come floating out of us. And so what I want you to do as you watch this video, I would encourage you to not only watch what happened in this moment visually, but I'm encouraging you to observe what you're feeling, observe what you just felt when Io just explained her moment of expectancy to you, this feeling that comes up bubbling inside of us. So what I'm going to do, we're going to show this video and then I'm going to meet you again on the other side. Wow. Oh, wow. My heart just pops open every time I see it. I must have seen this thing like 12 times already. When I put when I put my list on speaking this month, I didn't know that we were going to be going through all these things that we're going through. And I wanted to share this video because there's a lot of things that happened to me that night when I saw this happening. I got to view this. But, my heart was just like broken open at this moment. I don't know if any of you guys know that Kodi Lee won. He won the whole thing, and for the world to just embrace something like this was just an amazing feat. And but one of the things that I did that night and for weeks after, I observed not only Kodi and what was happening, but I was observing Kodi's mom and the things that she was doing, and I equated those things and I married those things to this infinite love that is always there, conspiring for our highest good. And so the connections that I was making throughout my watching this with this mom, he had his hand on her elbow, and she was sort of escorting him out to the stage. And I feel like that's how God just unfolds in our lives. The God that I know in my life that loves us dearly just unfolds us and just gently guides us. And as she gently guided him out into the stage, she also gently guided him over to the bench. And then she leaned over and spoke to him and whispered to him. And, And this is what we learn in Science of Mind, and what Ernest Holmes continues to speak about in Science of Mind book, and what we always talk about in these Sunday services, that our work is to cultivate and awaken that presence inside of us that whispers and reveals to us things that inspire us to love, to be who we are, our authentic selves, as we've just talked about recently, and to also create and to manifest things, extraordinary things in our lives, that we can do all of this. And every time that I am confronted with this power of love that is always there for me, and I see it in other people because I know it's inside of me, I'm always amazed at the incredible things that come forth, because it is the responsibility of the divine to just love us, to love us with this love that is that's so above and beyond anything that we can always imagine in our lives. There's a story in Mark Nepo's book called The Book of Awakening, in which he talks about this French little boy that was always, when he was raised, he was born blind, and he was raised to always look for things in front of him. And that's how you're raised when you're blind. Watch out for those things in front of you. Oh, you're going to bump into that thing in front of you. And it's not always about looking at what's in front of you, but it's always finding out what is, and just pausing at those moments to see what's being revealed from inside of you. So as he grew up, he realized that he was, in his process and his journey, as he became an adult, he realized that it was not always looking for those things in front of him, but to always looking at what was being revealed, as I said. And this is a quote that's in this book from Mark Nepo, that this young man was saying. He says, "It is more than seeing them, it is tuning in on them and allowing the current they hold to connect with one's own. It's like electricity. To put it differently, this means an end to living in front of things and a beginning to living with them. Never mind if this sounds shocking, for this is love. It is love. It is the connection of those things that keeps us all together. We call ourselves Oneness Center, and it is about that oneness, that connection, but it goes above and beyond that. Recently I had a discussion, and yes, the last couple of weeks have been so big. They've been so involved with so many things the last couple of weeks. And again, as I said, when I picked this talk to this moment today to speak on this fundamental belief of love, I had no clue. And if I would have written my talk back then, or even decided what I was going to be speaking about, it would have been, not useful, I guess, for this moment, because there's so many things that have transpired recently that have cracked me open. And one of the things that have transpired is that, in my life, when I was little, one of the things that I decided very early in my life that there were so many things going on when I was growing up, that I was going to jump over the fence. And when I got to the other side, I was going to get to the other side, and my life would be revealed in ways that, I knew were the right way to live. But what I didn't know when I jumped to the other side, that I was, and by jumping to the other side, I mean that I was going to do away with all those things that really were part of my culture, that were part of what was embedded inside of me, what I grew up with, what I was created to be, a Latina woman. And I jumped over that fence, and I said, I'm just going to leave all that behind, because with that came a lot of things. And unconsciously, one of the things that I also had decided was that I was going to leave this brown skin behind. I was going to leave this brown skin behind, somewhere behind, that I was going to go forth and live this life that was not going to include all these crazy things that came along with my culture. But except, those things, I wasn't going to give up the land food. Of course, I wasn't going to do that. And I wasn't going to, give up my Latin dancing. Definitely wasn't going to give up those two things, but I was going to give up those things that came along with the color of my skin. And so that I was going to do those things that that society said I should be doing. Again, that race consciousness said, if you do this, you're going to have a better life. And I did do that. I did a lot of things along the way, and I've had a better life. But most recently, as I said, a lot of the stuff that's been bubbling up for me has been, yeah, I have this brown skin, and yes, I have separated myself from these things, but um, um, one of the things is, honey, I need you. Um, I'm sorry, guys, my battery's running low, and I didn't realize that it was going to do that. So anyway, I'm going to move on, and I know that this is going to end the way that it's supposed to end. So anyway, having these discussions has opened me up to the revelations that I have to start living life from that place inside of me that speaks to me, that that my yearning inside of me, that is alive inside of me, that is the reality of who I am, and my authentic self is what it means, living inside of me, and I need I I need the electric cord. Um, so um, so anyway, I'm sorry. It's going to take a minute here. It's in the back for me to get plugged in. I don't want to go away. So in this whole revelation, I've also stopped to think in this, the story about Kodi Lee. I I just started to think about things in my life that I needed to step into the reality of who I am and what I am. And I had a discussion recently with a friend of mine that, says, we were having this discussion because it's not about knowledge anymore for me. It's about a feeling, something inside of me that bubbles up every time that I have to explore these feelings that I have, these love feelings, these very, very powerful feelings of connecting with something that is so much bigger than I am, but knowing that I have that connection inside of me. And because what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. And I know that my connection with that togetherness, is this knowing that no one and nothing is going to put asunder what I know is the reality of who I am and what I am to be. And that is the pureness of this love that connects me to everyone and everything, in recently I have been just reading a lot of spiritual books and a lot of things that have just awakened me to a new being of myself. And recently I just connected again with a book called um, a, Around the Year with Emmett Fox. And in this book, Emmett Fox says that to define God is to limit God. And we're always saying God is love, God is love. And but he said in this book, he says that to really, really connect with God and to really have that connection that we are all one in this universe, that we have to see God through the spiritual aspects of God. And he breaks it down in 7 aspects of God. And he says that God is life. Now, God doesn't give life, but God is life itself, the pureness of life itself. And, it made me think back to the day where I first got into working in corporate America. I used to have a boss that used to tell me all the time that I needed to move in life, like life depended upon me being. And what he wanted me to do was to do things around the office like, like I meant it. And so the way he explained it to me was that he wanted me to move around the office like my hand moves without me even knowing that it's moving. And I, I called my girlfriend after he told me this and didn't use some kind words to explain what had just happened. But throughout the years, even to this day, I remember that man's name. And that was like 45 years ago. But he was right. He was really, really right, because I have to live life today like my life depends on it. Like everything that I do in life and has to just have a significance to it, that I have to connect with it like it is me and I am it. And the understanding of this is just grown to be more and more in the last couple of weeks. And then he says that God is truth. God is not truthful, but he is truth itself. Wherever there's truth, there is God. God is absolute truth at all times. God is absolute truth at all times, that we shall know the truth and the truth shall set us free. Well, for me, for a long, long time, again, I didn't know that this truth was that I am a child of God, that God lives in me and I live in it, that there's goodness everywhere, that there's abundance everywhere, that I am the inheritor of all of God's love. And, when I live inside of this truth and this understanding, I know that this truth is real for me each and every moment of the day. I know that today I live through this truth. And as we open up ourselves to the understanding of this truth, the world becomes more vivid. And that's what's happened recently with all this stuff that I've been going through and experiencing through this lockdown. The greens have become greener and the blues have become bluer and the birds have been chirping louder, you know, because in living in this truth, yes, everything does become bigger. And he says, God is love. God is love. God is the true essence of love. God is not just loving, but love itself. And that there's no condition that enough love cannot heal. About maybe 5, 6 years ago, I shared here in Oneness a story about love, about the true essence of love. And it was this love that was so, so powerful for me to know and understand. My little sister, I was called because my little sister was in hospice. And during this time, I had not spoken to my little sister for 12 years. And my nephew called me to tell me that she was, in hospice and that she would be making her transition. And, I thought that I would be loving because by me just saying, let her go peacefully, that I don't need to go there and upset her in any form or way, that she should go peacefully. And so I told him that. And he was like, okay. But he wasn't buying that. And the next day he called me again and he said to me, he said, if you can't come for her, can you come for me? Can you come for me? Because I know you love me. And he knew that. He knew that I loved him because I've always told him that I loved him every time I spoke to him. And so I did. I went to visit my little sister, got in my car, drove up to New York City. And when I got there, I was still had this thing inside of me. It's like, oh, I don't want to upset the cartwheel. I don't want to upset this. But there was this voice inside of me that kept saying, love is bigger. Love, you are love. You can give love to this moment. And so I went there, I walked into this room, and there was my little sister lying on this bed. And all that was there as I embraced my sister was this moment of love, this moment of the pure essence of love itself. And in this moment, I realized that yes, there is no condition that enough love will not heal. Because, well, I couldn't heal her physically, because I didn't have that power to heal her. I knew that the love that I was giving her and the love that was floating up to the surface was healing. So the healing that went on was after my sister passed away, that I made a commitment that I was going to reach out to my other sister who we had issues too, and I was going to reach out to her in love, and that I was going to make a commitment that every single day, every week, I was going to reach out to her, whether it be a text or a phone call. I was going to call her and tell her that I loved her no matter what, right? And I did do that. I did that for years and years. I did that. Well, last year on June 15th, the day before Father's Day, and that's why I'm sharing the story with you, because it was the day before Father's Day. My sister was born on May 11th, Mother's Day, but she made a transition on the day before Father's Day, on June 15th. And I was so grateful that I had spent all these years calling her every week and telling her how much I loved her. And throughout that expression of love, we were able to heal our relationship. And I know that she knew that I loved her. So the fourth spiritual aspect is God is intelligence. And of course, for me, for years I prayed and prayed to God, and I had this little list, and I didn't know how intelligent my God is. So I would get up every day and say, God, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to, take care of this, take care of that. And of course, knowing that my God is super intelligent, um, today I know that. I went for years doing this, but today I know that I'm not this as intelligent as my higher power is, for sure. I know that today, because I can't make the sun rise and the sun set, and I can't, make those birds chirp, and I certainly can't make the squirrel around. I can't do any of that, but I do know today that this intelligence, this universal, infinite love is always, always loving me, because the only responsibility that this divine has is to love me and to love each and every one of us. So I know that my God is definitely intelligence. And the fifth one is that God is soul. And this is where I got really caught up in this whole thing, in this past couple of weeks, all this stuff that has been, just building up, not only inside of me, but in the world. And he said, soul is the aspect of God by which he is able to individualize itself, where the individualization of the soul. And in Ernest Holmes, the book, the practitioner book, handbook, recently I was reading some stuff in there, and he says that soul is not this thing that just, when we die, that the soul just goes up into, this bigger soul, the soul lives inside the spirit itself, and individualizes itself as the I am that we are. Because I am, we all live in this I am individually, and that the soul carries every single thing inside of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And when we see through this eyes of the soul, that we're able to experience and to connect with all that is happening. And that is really what has been happening to me in these last couple of weeks. I've been living inside of this soul. And I want to share with you something that we shared in the wisdom group a couple of weeks. It was, again, a story that we just read. We started reading this new book called 7,000 Ways to Listen. It was a book by Mark Nepo. And I'm going to read this little story to you because it is so apropos with what definitely is going on right now. And he says, at a gathering in San Francisco, I met Marco, a careful and patient photographer from Santa Clara. When asked what surprised him during the last year, his voice began to quiver like mine is right now. He witnessed two breaths that had changed his life, he said. His daughter's first breath and then his mother's last breath. As his daughter inhaled the world, it seemed to awaken her soul on earth. As his mother exhaled her years, it seemed to free her soul of the world. And these two breaths jarred Marco to live more openly. Honestly, it took these two breaths into his own daily breathing to quickly see their common purpose in everyone's breathing. Is it possible that with each inhalation, we take in the world and awaken our soul? And with each exhalation, do we free ourselves of the world which inevitably entangles us. Is this how we fill up and empty 100 times a day, always seeking the gifts of two breaths? Perhaps this is the work of being. And, and recently, of course, for me, I had to think about, because everything that we've been discussing today, the meditation, everything, is about these breaths that we take, these breaths. And most recently, of course, the breath, this last breath that was taken by someone that has just, a breath that has moved this world to amazing things today. These connections, these feelings that I know I have, these feelings that I know that we all right now are just feeling with each other. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine, and I made a statement about holding a 400-year history. I said that we are holding 4 years of a history. And she said these words to me that really, really resonated to me very powerfully. She said, Idalia, we're not holding 400 years of history. We are living 400 years of history. With every breath that we take, we are living history each and every moment of the day. Together, together, whether we're white, black, brown, whatever color, we are living this love, this powerful love that's helping us rise to levels that we've never risen before. So the sixth aspect of God is spirit, a spirit which cannot be destroyed or damaged, a spirit that is substance, that which is not subject to discord or decay. And that's definitely what we are experiencing right now, the spirit. We talk about, we hear these words floating up, the soul of our country, the spirit of our country. And that cannot be destroyed in any form or way. None of it can be destroyed, because there is this last principle, which I'm going to talk about, the principle, God being principle itself. Because like water seeks its own level, and like, 2 + 2 is 4, the harmony of the law of being. When we pray together, we can change the world together, and we can understand that this principle of life, this principle of love, grows bigger each and every day. For together, we can accomplish anything. And when we wrap all these spiritual aspects of God together, we know that our life depends on it, and that the responsibility of the divine becomes bigger and bigger and bigger in this universe of love that is so powerful. I'm going to end with this, because I probably have gone over my time right now. This is from Ernest Holmes on the 1926 edition, page 300. And I'm going to quote him because it is very powerful. The divine urge is strong in man and constantly causes him to see some form of self-expression. It is divine because it is the desire of the spirit to express itself through him. And like all other forces of nature, this energy can work through man only at his bidding, consciously or unconsciously. For he is an individual and has self-choice. We sing a song called I Choose Love. And so today, for me, I choose love because I know that I am spirit, and I know that I am in the mind of God. Today I awaken to my natural state where there's no effort at all. All I have to do is to be, because I arrive at grace each and every moment. that I am complete, I am whole, I am safe, because I know that I am love itself. So I'll end on an up note, because of course I can't end the talk without my Motown guru, Diana Ross. And I'll sing a little bit. She says, ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from you. Ain't no mountain high enough. And that's how I feel. There is no mountain high enough to keep me from knowing that we are all connected, that we are all one in this power of love, that the infinite is love, that my life, our lives, depends on this love to live each and every moment. Namaste. All right. Let's just end this moment with the spirit of prayer. Because where two are gathered, there I am. There God is. I know there's only one power, one presence, one mind, one universal knowing. And I know this power, this presence lives inside of me and lives inside of each and every one of us. I know that it bubbles up. It speaks. It dances each and every time, each and every moment that we gather together in prayer. And in the power of this realization, we spread this love, we spread this joy, we spread this knowing into our communities, into our country, into our world of interdependence, into that breath of life that connects us as one breath. And in this knowing, we live in the fullness of this divine essence, of this divine dependence, of this beautiful and glorious grace that opens up our hearts, like Kodi's heart, to the knowing that we are all special, that we all have gifts, that we can all connect with one another through our gifts and through this love. And we're so grateful, so grateful that we have this community of oneness, this community of fellowship, this community of support, this community that sends out prayers of togetherness. because we are in this together. So as I have allowed these words to come through me, I know that I am a channel. I am the example. And that it all begins with me. As I lay these words upon the law of God, knowing that I am a spiritual being, that we are spiritual beings, living in a spiritual world, governed by a spiritual law that knows before we even know. So we say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, knowing that the law has already delivered, and so it is. Amen.